All right, guys, welcome back to week 3. And here we are trying to understand about some more Java concepts. So we will be in the initial stage, we will be going around between the Java and Selenium unless you have decent grip on Java. And then we will slowly transition into framework development, automation framework development. All right. Let me add this guy here. Cedric. Okay. All right, Cedric, I added you to the January channel. Come on.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's done. Good. Perfect. So now that we're going to talk about the first thing here, which is my if-else situation. All right. So there are different conditional statements that you need to know in order to perform an action, something like this. If a particular condition is true, you want to perform an action, or else you want to perform a separate action. Today, I want all of you guys to do an exercise with me. All right. I want you to do debugging exercise with me. I want this to be your bread and butter from today. Okay. So if you have joined from your tablet or mobile phone, please get out and just join from your laptop, because I'm going to show you how to debug. Okay. Just a minute. Maddie is coming in. All right. Okay. So for example, if you look at this piece of code, what am I doing? What am I doing here? I'm doing very simple task. I am taking 3 different integer values, int A, B, and C, and I'm assigning a value to it. This equal sign is an assignment operator. Okay, I'm assigning a value to it. I have 3 different variables. In this if-else statement, what I'm trying to do is trying to figure out which of these 3 numbers is the bigger one, is the biggest. Okay, how am I doing this? I'm doing it with the help of the if-else statement. All right, it's very simple to write. You write if, and then you write a bracket under which you can pass multiple condition or a single condition. And then you have a scope, an open bracket and a close bracket. And within this scope, right, you have to print out something. If the condition satisfied, if the first condition satisfies, then you print out this line. If the second condition satisfies, then you print out this line, and then this line. So this is a very, very simple task. But what I want you to do today is, I want you to debug this simple task with me. Can we all do this? I'm going to ask some of you to share the screen and show it to me. All right. What I'll do is I'll go to my Eclipse, which is my code editor, and just let me create a new project for today. So Java project, say week 4 summary class. Okay. And so finish. All right. In this, I'm going to create a simple package here. New package. Just say test Java, all in lowercase. That's the convention for package, all in lowercase. Finish, and then you say new class, and the class I'm going to say test conditional statements, test conditions. Simple. All right, with the main method. So I just check the box, click on this checkbox and finish. I have this simple class called test conditions with the main method. All right, so within this main method, I'm going to write 3 different variables, exactly how I did it there. Int A equals 20, int B equals 30 and int C equals 40. Simple. I created a variable and then I assigned some initial value to it. Good stuff. Let's create the if-else statement. All right. If A greater than B, then I want to do something. Else if, whatever I'm writing here is a nested if-else condition. The point, I mean, by looking at the syntax, it should be very simple to understand. All I'm trying to do is trying to check different kind of conditions. If A is greater than B, I can say, okay, so if grade is greater than B and A is greater than C, that is how we should write it, because ideally, we are trying to see if A is biggest among all three, right? So this AND is basically the operator, logical operator, which will let me check the left-hand side and the right-hand side both. So we have to put a bracket here to make these two conditions separate out from each other. Simple. I'm pretty sure most of you guys have already done this, but I'm sure that you have not tried to debug this. And this is something that I want to finish today. I definitely want you guys to learn how to debug, because without debugging, your programming career is finished, my friend. Okay. So I have two conditions you can see very well. If A is greater than B and C, then A is greater. If B is greater than C and A, then B is greater. Else, obviously C is greatest. So let's see this out and then control space. That will write this line for me. And then I'll say A plus equals to is greatest. Similarly, B is greatest. And similarly, C is greatest. A very simple thing. Okay. Now, I want you guys to debug this condition. How do you do that? The right way to debug is to break things down into multiple different sections. What am I doing? I'm putting a breakpoint. I want you guys to do this with me. I'm going to ask someone to show the screen now. So I'm putting a breakpoint line number 11, line number 13, because this is the location where the conditional checks are happening. Okay. And line number 15. So you see, even if I'm trying to double click on the line number 15, this blue edge, I'm not able to add this dots or the breakpoints. You see, it's not coming up there in else. It's coming within the else scope, because in the else scope, really, I'm not doing any other conditional check. There is no conditional check like this. Okay. So basically, if both of these condition checks fails, only then it will land in here. So that's the reason why I can't really put a breakpoint in line number 15. It goes to line number 16 by default. Okay. Can you guys show me if you have done this? Let's say, Shay, can you show me a screen? I'll give you the.
Yeah, I'm just doing it now. This bit, just on the last bit.
Yeah, I just made you a co-host.
Where is what screen is it? This one. Sure. Can you see my screen?
It's coming up. Okay, I do your screen. So make your Eclipse, like maximize this. Very good. Number one is your coding. Do you see any problem there in your code?
I haven't finished it yet. I think I've got the last bits to do here. Can you see? So I saved it. Let's save.
Excuse me, Sumit, which line to debug, please?
Which line to debug?
Yes.
I'll tell you. Just give me a minute. So
It's not complete yet, is it?
okay, you have to add the third else, right?
Yeah, third else. So
But in line number 14, you didn't finish the else if. There is no scope there. You didn't add a bracket there at the end of the else if.
okay, that's close bracket like this.
That's not a
No,
close, that's an open
that's-
bracket. That's an open bracket. That's not a closed one.
Okay, so close
So-
bracket is saying to add.
Add the open bracket in line number 14 at the very end.
Very end. Open bracket.
Why are you doing this?
Why are we doing this?
Yeah, why are we doing this? Why are we adding a bracket? What bracket are you adding, Shay? Shay, calm down. Calm down. You are trying to rush.
Yeah.
It will not work like this.
So open bracket, he said, yeah. It's open bracket. The reason why is 'cause-
This bracket is not the one that we are expecting. We are expecting what bracket? It's a flower brace we are
flower
expecting.
brace, yeah. So flower brace like this one.
Exactly. Hit enter.
And
Okay. And within that bracket, line number 15, you copy and paste that section that is in line number 17.
17. Okay.
Yeah. Cut and paste. And then make that statement as B, right? It's not A is greatest, it's B is greatest.
Okay.
Okay. And then again, line number 16, add a else.
Let's copy this.
No, not else if, I said else.
Okay.
Line number 16, else.
Yeah.
And then again, a bracket,
Bracket.
not that bracket.
This one.
Can't you find that in your keyboard?
So not this bracket. It's not the normal bracket. You're saying
It's a flower bracket.
flower bracket. Let's see where's the flower bracket on the keyboard. Oh, there.
It's in the same section where you have the square bracket.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. So not this way. Do you,
And then hit enter.
enter.
Okay, and then put that last line between that section. Now, yeah, cut it and paste it.
So you don't need that last line there, yeah?
No. And in line number 17, you should say C is greatest.
Line number 17, so C is greatest.
Okay, can you now explain me what exactly we are trying to do here?
So looking at this, so printing, so A plus is the greatest. So here, A is greater than B. It's not.
It's not about what is going to be the answer. I'm saying in this snippet, what exactly I'm trying to do. Why am I writing this snippet is to find out which number is the biggest number.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So in line number 12,
yeah.
You can write the comment later on, but line number 12, I'm trying to check two different conditions. Is that right?
Yeah, 1, 2.
And what are those conditions I'm checking?
So A, it's not greater than, A greater than B, and A greater than C.
Right. So now when the program will run, and when it reads line number 12, what will happen?
So A, if I just run it, see what
Don't run it. Don't run it.
Okay.
Leave. Don't run it.
okay, so
Don't run
print
it.
out A plus its greatest. So A is 20. What's the greatest number out of those two?
No.
And it prints out?
Shay, calm down.
Okay.
Calm down. You're rushing. Think. When the code will run, in line number 12, when it reads the line number 12, what will happen?
It will check both sides, is it? If this
It will check if A is greater than B. And it will also check if A is greater than C.
A is greater than C.
So in the current situation, whatever the values you see there in line number 8, 9, 10, do you think that the answer will be printed as A is greatest or not?
A is greatest. No. B is greatest. So if is that, if else is that, and else is that. Out of all this, it should be like the C is greatest, right?
The answer will be C is greatest. That's fine, obviously.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I'm trying to understand that are
Yeah.
you getting the point that
yeah.
in line number 12,
Yep.
there are two conditions that I'm checking at the same time,
Yeah. This and that.
this and that. And
Yeah.
if both the condition fails, then
Yep.
what will happen?
Both the conditions fail. What would it be? Like, would it be 0 or would it be? I don't know. Would it be if both these conditions, this side and that side, and
If both the conditions fail,
yeah.
then what will happen is this. I want you to understand this, Shay. Calm down.
Okay.
All right. Can you give me the screen control?
Okay. Let's see.
You give me the screen control, right?
No, it's a message coming up. Request remote control of your screen.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Just give me the screen control.
Okay. Yeah, I've given you control.
Okay, hang on. So now if you look at it, what am I doing is I am breaking these lines, everything into multiple different separate lines. Understand this, it's nothing to do about mugging. You're not mugging anything. You're not going to, read history books and then go and perform it or just go and dump it in your examination hall. You're not doing that. It's nothing to do with just memorizing it. It's about understanding it. Programming is all about that. But the point is, once you learn it forever. So try it, okay? I am going to break it down all this line in multiple different sections. I'm going to say, okay, I broke down that same line into 3 different lines. Again, over here, I'm breaking it down to 3 different lines. Actually, it's okay if I take longer time and I don't start week number 4, it doesn't matter. I want this to be cleared because we cannot progress without this. And I want everybody in my class to be in the same level. It's not going to work otherwise. Okay, so I broke it down to 3 different lines. All right. Now I'm putting a breakpoint. How do you put a breakpoint? With your mouse on this line number 12. I double click on here. I double click here. Okay. This is breakpoint number 1. And because I broke it down to all separate lines, are you focusing, Shay?
Yeah.
I'm putting another breakpoint line number 14, another breakpoint line number 16, another one in line number 18. Okay.
Yeah.
And then finally line number 21. All right. So now let me show you what will happen. I'm going to run this in the debug mode. Right click on this file, debug as Java application. It's saving this file and then it should stop. It should pause the execution in line number 12. It's asking me to go to the debug perspective. You don't need to go to the debug perspective. Just say, remember my decision and say no, so that you can stay in the same screen. You don't have to go to another screen. Now look here, line number 12, A is greater than B. I'm trying to go for a condition check. This is a conditional operator. This greater than sign is a conditional operator. I'm checking if A is greater than B or not. In this current situation, it is not because A is 20, B is 30, right? Obviously, this first condition that I'm highlighting right now is a failure.
Yeah.
Because it is failure, it is also it is not going to go for the another line. Let me show you. Do you see that? It didn't even check if A is greater than C or not, because it is an AND logical operator which I'm using. If you remember the truth table, I spoke about the truth table in great detail, which is why I tell you guys that please be focused in the class. Let me just try and where the hell is my controls? Okay, I'm trying to draw, man. Where is my annotate? Here I got it. Okay, so I told you about a truth table. There are two different truth tables for AND operator and OR operator. Okay, so I told you something like this. Okay, so this is condition one. Condition one. Everybody can see my screen. I'm writing things, right? Everybody can see that, right?
Yeah.
Condition one, and then condition two. And then finally you have the result.
So we actually, I guess
can't
you
see it.
yeah.
I can see the red box.
Only see the box, yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. It'll
Oh,
come.
okay.
It will come.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll get that back
Can
on.
you go back to the Eclipse, please?
Eclipse there. Yeah, it's better now.
Yeah. So when I write, you will not be able to see it, but when I save it, it will see it. Okay. So condition one, condition two, and result. So in this case, I'm checking condition one. What is the condition one? A is greater than B. Okay. That is the condition one I'm trying to check. Okay. And what is the condition two? Condition two is A is greater than C. So the point with your AND is, if the first condition is true and the second condition is true, only then the result will be true. That means if A is greater than B is true and A is greater than C is true, only then this line over here will be printed. Is that making sense to everyone? Because if the first condition is true and the second condition is true, only then this will be printed, otherwise it won't. Just 1 minute, there's another person who's coming in the class. Hi Swati, thank you for joining the call. Yeah, we started at 9 o'clock, so we are discussing a few things here in the class, some if-else statement. I will continue the discussion as of now, and then I will let you introduce to the team, and then I will talk you about the whole process at the end of the class. Is that okay, Swati? Can you hear me out loud and clear? You need to unmute to talk. Can you unmute, please? Swati, can you unmute, please? If she can hear me. Okay, anyways, so I'm checking two different conditions here. The first condition is A is greater than B, and the second condition is B is greater than C. And only then, if both of them are true, only then the result will be true. Otherwise, it won't be true, right? Otherwise, it won't be true. In all other cases, it will be false. Meaning, in my current situation, the first condition itself was false. And the second condition was also false. But because the first condition is false, it will not even check the second condition. So obviously it was false for me. And it didn't really launch, it didn't really go inside that section. All right. Let's see the second condition. Let's see the second condition. This line number 16. Line number 16 is saying B is greater than C. Is it true? It's not. So it's a false. But the second condition is true. B is greater than A. But it will not be checked again because both those conditions has to be true to actually get it printed. Very, very simple thing. Okay. Let me just try to run this with you. And then you see, it just prints out that the C is greatest. Why is that? Because we just broke it down into multiple different sections. Now I'll show you something. Instead of saying and, I'm saying or operator now. It's not an and, it's an or operator. Or and or. See, I'm doing or operator with the pipe sign. Okay. And just a minute. Yeah. With the pipe sign, correct? And then if I run this now, you will see a different result. Look at it very clearly. I am debugging again the same situation. Now here it is saying I'm landing in line number 12 again. A is greater than B. Is it greater than B? It is not. A is not greater than B, but because instead of saying and, I said or, even though the first condition was a false, it will check the second condition. Just see this. It lands in line number 14. Do you realize what I'm saying, Shay? Is it
perfect.
making sense?
Makes sense. Yeah. If it's or, because it's checking the second part, otherwise it wouldn't. And it's based on the first part. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, it is checking the second part as well. Okay, because the truth condition for or is different. Okay, so obviously what will happen is it will check both of it, and A is not greater than B, A is not greater than C, hence it will go to the line number 16. It will not go into line number 15, it will go to line number 16. Now here I'm checking if B is greater than C or not. Is it? It's not. But it will check that B is greater than A or not, and that is true.
True.
Because one of the condition is true, therefore, it will actually print this. And you see me printing this as the information. However, in our condition and our situation, obviously, putting or is not the right operator. We should be adding and only, because we are trying to evaluate two different conditions. In our situation, obviously, or is not something that we are supposed to do. But I'm just trying to show you these conditional statements so that you understand that by debugging, breaking down things and debugging, you can proceed, you can get to a point, you can get to some understanding, which you will not be able to otherwise, you know. So whatever I just did, I want Shay, you to just do it again. And just show me what have you learned so far. Number one, just put the breakpoints.
So number one, put the breakpoints. Was it here? Number 12. Right. Breakpoints. If I'm right, I think you put it by there, right? Does that look right?
No, don't ask me. Do you
Okay.
think it is logical to put the breakpoints there?
breakpoints, yeah.
Why don't you try to put the breakpoint line number 13? Can you try that?
13.
Yeah, try that. Are you able to?
No, you're not able to. So that's
Why not? Why
Yeah.
not? Because a
Yes.
breakpoint is not logical
Yeah.
for an operator.
Yeah.
That line number 13 is an operator. You cannot put a breakpoint in an operator. You can put a breakpoint only in condition, something that you're trying to evaluate. A code that you're trying to evaluate, only that can have a breakpoint. Otherwise, you cannot have a breakpoint. So you see, you put in the breakpoint, that's fine. Now, how do you run this?
You run this. Save it.
Okay. And you are line number 12. So we are evaluating an OR operator. In the first line, in line number 12, you're checking if A is greater than B. Is it A is greater than B? It's not, right?
Yeah. So A is greater than B. It's not. So that's
It's
false.
not, right? What will happen next?
So A is greater than B. So that's false. So here, B is greater than C.
No.
Sorry. After this bit, it just
Yeah, after this bit, if
check,
you just
check,
say,
checks
yeah,
this next line. Because
exactly,
checks
exactly.
this line.
How do you go to the next line?
So A is greater than
No,
C.
how do you go to the next line? How do you make the code go to the next line? How do you check the next line? You see line number 12 is highlighted in green, right?
Yeah.
How do you go to the next line? No, not like that. On the left top corner, there is this arrow, which is
this one here.
not that. The next one, you see there is a arrow, a tilted arrow. Next to that red button,
Yeah.
there is a tilted arrow.
Next to a red button.
There's a tilted arrow, like a U arrow.
Oh, on the right part, the top bit here.
Yeah, that's right. Not that one, not that one. The next one. It's called step over. Let's do that.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
And you're line number 14. Now you're checking line number 14.
Yeah.
All right. And then you again do a step over.
Step over arrow.
Okay. Why it didn't print line number 15?
So we didn't print line number 15
Because
they're both false.
exactly. Very good. Very good. Now hit the step over again. And you see the line number 16, it checked, but it is also checking line number 18. In line number 18, B is greater than A because value of B is 30 and value of A is 20. So that is true. Yeah. And then if you click on that again, it will go to line number 19 to make that print out.
Yeah.
Because one of those conditions were true.
True, yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
So that's how you debug, guys. I am requesting you, we are in the 3rd week. You cannot shy away from debugging. If you do that, even if somehow or the other, fortunately, you get the job in automation, you cannot survive a month without knowing how to debug in the company. You cannot, I'm telling you on recording. This will never happen. A developer needs to know how to debug. And there is multiple forms of it. In Java, the debugging is fairly simple. If you actually get into JavaScript, the debugging is quite different and it's quite confusing at times. And then we use multiple different strategies to debug. But in Java, things are still straightforward. So please do not, avoid debugging. Okay. All right, perfect. I will stop the screen share. I'll go to my screen sharing now. Okay. So this is the if-else statement that I wanted to talk about. There is also another way to really work with the if-else statement, but it's called switch case. Switch case and if-else, they are totally different than each other. And the use case itself is also different. So you see, in case of if-else, I am actually evaluating multiple conditions. I'm evaluating multiple conditions, right? I have three different numbers, three different variables to evaluate. But in switch case, that's not the case. You see, I'm saying int num equals 50, something like that, or int num equals 0 or 50, that's fine. Okay. And then I'm saying switch case, switch num. Okay. And then I'm saying case. Okay. And I'm saying if it is 10, all right, sys out 10. All right. If it is 30, sys out 30. If it is 30, sys out 30. Right? If it is 50, sys out 50. Simple. If it is 50. And if it is none of them, if it is none of these cases, then by default, sys out 0. What exactly I'm trying to do here? You can use switch cases with one single condition. Okay. You can use switch case with one single condition and one single information that you want to evaluate. So what exactly I'm trying to do here is this. I'm not trying to perform, cannot perform a conditional statement like this. I cannot do that. I can just evaluate one single value and then just say if the value is having certain, I can evaluate one single variable, and if I see different kind of cases for that variable, then I'll print out accordingly. That's what I do with switch case. Okay, so in this situation, what will happen? Let's try to see what will happen. If I run this program right now, it'll print out 50 and 0. Why it is happening like that? Because in switch case, there is a problem. I mean, switch case and if else is basically used in two different conditions, if you ask me. In switch case, you know that you have just particular one variable and it can have different cases and you can directly handle the case. For example, I'll show you something. I'll put a breakpoint line number 23, line number 30, line number 50, line number 26. You see that? I'm putting the breakpoints in all of these lines, right? And now, if I run this program, okay, line number 22 also. If I run this program in debug mode, see what happens. It lands in line number, okay, leave this if else. I'll take them out and resume. Line number 22, I am at pause right now. And here the value of num is 50. We know that. If you remember, with if-else situation, we were actually going through each and every condition separately. Okay? The benefit with switch case is that you don't go and check each and every condition. If your case matches, then you straight away go to the right case. Look, do you see that? It didn't evaluate line number 10, line number, case 10, case 30. No, it directly landed from line number 22 to line number 25. How? Because it knows the internal implementation of switch case knows that the case 50 is already registered within this statement. And when the data matched, then it will land in here directly. Okay. And then what happens is when it lands in here, it will obviously print out the condition, but it will also print out, it will also go to the next immediate case. That's how switch case is designed. So basically, to avoid that happening, we can add break here. break here. Okay. Break. So as soon as the case is over, or the case is evaluated and printed, immediately just get out of the entire switch case. Something like this. Not now, but if I just run it again, you will see it just prints out only 50. It didn't print out 0, because as soon as it came here, it printed 50 and then it got out of the switch case. That's how switch case works. Simple.
Yes, so,
Okay.
sorry, I have a question.
Go on.
So let's say if we had put 50 in the first case,
Yeah,
like, and if we don't put break, so
yeah.
it would not
It
a
will
question, like it would print all of them, right? 50.
Exactly. So let me do that. I'll say 10, and then I just remove this breaks. Okay, and then just print this. See that?
Yeah, got it.
You have to use a break, otherwise it will not break out of the statement. Yeah.
Thanks.
Very good. So that's the switch case and the if-else statement. Cedric, are you able to understand? I know the syntaxes are different about, or you're seeing this for the first time probably, but do you think it is understandable? What do you think? Can't hear you, man. Your voice is not there.
Yes, what you've done so far is clear. Yeah, I'm following.
Okay, very good. That's
Yeah.
good. All right, so let's move on to the next part. This things will be a little bit complicated. I spoke about access specifier last week. Yes, no? I think I did.
Not in deep, because we just mentioned about private and public, but there are new things there, default and protected. that
Okay,
are coming in.
I didn't talk about them. Okay, that's fine. I'll talk about them. This is your Java in here. Okay, that's cool. Let's talk about the access specifiers. Let's create a class. Let's name this class as a car class. And in the car class, I'm going to use some variables, and I will have another class where I will actually test my car. Okay. So car is a template. I told you that, meaning all the values related to the car I will add in here, right? All the values, I mean, not the values, but the variables I will add in here, and the methods as well, right? So let's give something like this: private string, okay, brand, private string model, and let's give this to a private. I'll do a public int number, public int engine or seats, maybe seats, and that's it. I have one method here, public void. The method name is, for example, print car info. Print car info. And what I do, I simply print out the car information. So sysout. And within the printout, I print out the brand, model, and seat. Brand, model, and seat. you know this very well that even though these guys are public or private, these two guys are private, within the class, within the car class, what will happen? Any attribute or any method will have access to these variables. No problem at all. No problem at all. Because these variables are right there in the same class. It's in the global space. This section is called as global space. Global space, right? So everything will be, whatever is defined here will be accessible to all the methods and all the other attributes of this class. So there is no problem with that. This method is a public method. This seats is a public variable. So these two guys are public. When it is public, which means that anybody can access them. How do I mean? Let's create an object of the car class in my test car class. So test car, I'm creating an object here. Test car, I'll create an object car, Audi equals new car. I created an object. And then what do? I say Audi is an object of the car class. So I say Audi dot. I use a dot operator. Why am I using the dot operator? I'm using the dot operator because I want to access the members of that class for this particular object. I told you this earlier as well, that when you're creating an object of the class, you're creating an instance of that particular class, and using this dot operator, you're trying to access the data member or the class members of the car class with respect to this particular object only. So I say Audi dot. As soon as I dot, you see I'm saying seats and I'm seeing print car info. You can see very well over here. You can see that seats int, and this is the name of the class, car class. So it's just saying that the seats variable is a part of the car class. Also, it is saying this print car info method is a part of the class car. Rest of them are not. Rest of them are coming from the object class. What is object class? We'll talk about that later. But you can see only this one and this one is coming from the car class. Very well, you can see that Eclipse is saying this to you, is loudly saying this to you, right? So I can say seats.int, Audi.seats, and then I'm going to say maybe 5. So what did I do with this? I'm assigning the value 5 to the seats variable for this particular instance. Now, if I go and say Audi dot print car info, then I should be able to print the information. So let's go and say print car info. Let's run this program, right? If I run it, what do you see? You see a value like this. Why is that? It says null, null, and 5. Can someone tell me why am I getting this value? Null, null, and 5? Charles, do you want to try?
Because you did not define the value of brand and model.
Exactly. I didn't define any value for brand and module. So which means Java is going to assign by default the value as null, which is why in line number 10 and line number 12, I'm getting null and null. And then finally, I'm getting 5 here because in my line number 8, where I created the instance of the car, I assigned the value of 5 to the seats. I was able to access the seats variable and the print car info method because these two are public. So what did we learn from it? We learned very simple thing. We learned that private elements can only be accessed within the class, and public elements can be accessed outside of the class, actually within the entire project. If you declare a private variable somewhere here in the car class, it can be accessed by any other class within the entire project. So what we are trying to learn here, we're learning access specifiers. In Java, there are multiple different components which can be given different level of access. Why do you want to do that? You want to do that because you don't want anything to be accessed by anyone. You want them to be accessed by following the access specifier rules, so that everybody will not be accessing everything. Yeah, sure. If you have a question, go on.
So, Souvik, when you said private members can be accessed within the project. So,
within the class, not the project.
yeah. So, okay. Then within the class, I understood, but within the project, I was
not
sure.
within the project. Only the public members will be accessed within the project.
Okay, perfect.
Okay,
Thank you.
that's good. All right. So now that we understand the public and private, let me do some quick changes. Number one, I'll make one of these variable as default access, meaning I'll remove this private keyword from here, just like that. As soon as I do it, it becomes our default access. Now, because it becomes a default access, then I can go back to my test car class, and instead of just saying seats, I can also say Audi.model, because model is now accessible, because it is now default. It is not public, it is not private, but it's default. So I can say model is A3, something like that. Because it's not private, I'm able to access model entity as well. Now I'll show you something. I will create one more package here. New package. And the package name is something, test Java 2, something like that. And what I'll do is very simply, I will take out the car class from the test Java package, and I'll move it to test Java 2 package, just like that. Just like that. As soon as I do it, you see only line number 10 has a problem. Line number 11, line number 12 has no issues because they are public. But line number 10 is having a problem. It is saying the field car.model is not visible. Because it's default and you have changed the package. So basically, you got to understand where you have defined the variable and from where you are accessing the variable, they both should be staying inside the same package if the variable is default access. If it has default access, they should be in the same package. If it is not, then it will create a problem for us, right? So this is basically 3 different access specifier we just spoke about: private, public, and default. I'll talk about the protected, but I will talk about the protected only when I talk about inheritance. Okay, so we'll talk about inheritance in 2 minutes. All right, what I'll do is I'll go to one more space. You know what? I'll talk about inheritance, but let me take a quick 5 minutes break, and then I'll come back and then I'll talk about inheritance. All right?
Please, Ubu, can you go back to Java, please, class?
Sure.
Okay, thanks.
I just removed that.
Yeah, thanks.
And then it becomes default.
Perfect, thanks.
Okay. Perfect. I'll come back in 5 minutes. Thank you, guys. All right. So I'll just push it back to where it was so that the error is gone. Okay. Now let's talk about.
Sorry, Subik,
Mhm.
can I ask you just a quick question?
No problem.
So when you move the car file into, the car class into the other package, the
Yeah.
problem was just for the default variable, not for the other, just for the default one.
Exactly. That's the point.
Okay.
So
Okay.
only the default elements, as I
Okay.
said, the default. So the default element is in the car class,
Mhm.
and you were trying to access that default element from the test car class,
Mhm.
right? So now when you change these two, when you change the location of these two classes,
Mhm.
okay, it
Yep.
just starts creating the problem.
Mhm.
If they are both in the same package, there is no problem.
Okay.
That's the difference between default. Okay.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks.
But to be very true, you will not be really using default much. The course of the kind of job that we are doing, we will not be really dealing with default much. We will be dealing with 3 different access specifiers: public, private, and protected. These 3 is what we will be using mostly. Default is there, but we don't really use that. I'm just letting you know the difference so that you can handle an interview question.
Okay, thanks.
Good. All right. Next, we will talk about the other stuff. For example, we'll talk about Java methods. All right. We'll talk about Java methods. I'm thinking, should I talk about Java methods or should I talk about inheritance? Okay, let's talk about inheritance first, and then I'll talk about Java methods, and then I'll talk about runtime polymorphism. Okay, let's talk about inheritance. What is inheritance? Inheritance is exactly what we understand in simple English. Inheritance meaning the properties of a parent will be given to the child. Okay, it's found within the child. It is exactly how inheritance works in Java. So in Java, there are different kind of principles that I have already spoken about. These are called OOPS principles, object-oriented programming principles. So inheritance is one of this principle. Is one of the principle. Okay. As per this principle, what it is saying, it's saying that the properties of the parent is given to the child. Okay. So properties of a parent. Let's again think about the same situation. I'll say about car. Car is a class, and I will consider this car class as a parent class. In the parent class, I have certain attributes, that means certain variables, and certain properties that are methods. So I will be defining attributes like brand, model, seats. Okay. And then I have another property, which is going to be like start car. All right. I'll have another method, stop car. These are the properties of a car, correct? A car can be started, a car can be stopped. I'm talking about from a real life example, a real world example. Okay. So car can have brand model seat. It will obviously have brand model seats. It can start car, it can stop car, and it can accelerate car. Car. It can do all these things. That's cool. Now let's go and try to do something. This is my parent. Now, how can I, so think about the situation. I can go ahead and create an instance of the car class like this. car Mercedes equals to new car. Think about the problem first, and let's talk about the solution. All right, I'll actually do this here. Car Mercedes equals new car. As soon as I do that, you know, I told you this, that I can go ahead and I can say Mercedes dot start car. Absolutely, I can do that. Why I can do that? Because the start car property is found in the car class. So obviously I'll start the car. I can access this method. No problem with this object. I can go ahead and I can say the same thing. Mercedes dot stop car. And Mercedes dot accelerate car. Okay. I can do this, no problem at all. However, if you have a situation, something like this, where the Mercedes as a car has various different ways to start the car. For example, it can be started like a normal start car. You go inside the car and then you press a button. Nowadays in all the cars you have a button to press and then you can start the car, right? So you press a button and you start the car. You can definitely do that. But the Mercedes that we are trying to deal with is a little bit advanced. How? This Mercedes car is having a feature which is start with proximity sensor. Meaning what? Meaning as soon as you move towards the car, because you have the key in your pocket, it will automatically sense that you are coming and it will automatically make the car in start position. It will just start the car automatically. You don't have to do anything. You come there and you see that the doors are unlocked and your car is started. That's the feature that Mercedes is trying to build. Now think about it. With this situation, what possibilities do you have? You can go ahead and create another method here. Something like this. Start with proximity. Proximity. Right? Sensor. You can have a method like this. Start with proximity sensor. And then if you do this, then obviously this Mercedes object will have that as well. So Mercedes dot start with proximity. With proxy. However, now if I tell you to create an object of Audi, right? So I'm saying go and create an object of Audi now. So you say car, Audi equals new car. Right? As soon as you do that, even though you don't want the Audi object to have the method, to access the method start with proximity, you don't want that to happen here in Audi because Audi is not having that feature. Only Mercedes is having that feature. Audi doesn't start with that. Audi has some other option. You come there, you come near to the car, maybe there's the fingerprint scanner. You put your finger into the door handle, and then it starts the car. It's totally different technology, right? How will you handle that situation? How will you say that, okay, my Audi starts with fingerprint scan. My Mercedes starts with proximity sensor. And at the same time, I want both the car to have the option to accelerate, to stop, and also to start normally. Like, it can go wrong. It's a technology and it can go wrong that, your proximity sensor is not working. And even then the user should be able to start it, meaning they should go near to the car, they should key in the door handle, and they can unlock the door and then get inside and then switch the engine and then they can leave. right? They should have all the option, but at the same time, they must be also supporting this individual characteristics. Now, this is the situation that I'm trying to show you, where inheritance is the only option for us. Now I want to understand from each and every one of you, do you understand the problem first? Why do I need to think about inheritance in the first place? Do you understand the problem first? Yes, no? Let me see that chat. Sorry, guys, are you understanding the problem? I'm not hearing any yes, no. Okay. Okay. Adi, Shay, are you understanding? Are you realizing that there is a problem? Or whatever we have learned so far, we can use the same? Yeah, go on, Adi. Do you think there is a problem here without inheritance?
Yes.
Right. Shay, is that clear to you? Do you realize there is a problem?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So the point is, because there is a problem, we need to figure out a solution. Okay. And inheritance is going to be the solution for us, meaning providing individual characteristics to same type of entities. So let's talk about this. All right. This is a very, very important concept. I want you guys to learn this because we are going to use this in our class in details. What I'll do is, this is my car class, which is my template, car template. It's a parent class, right? I'm just going to say parent class. Okay. Now what I'm doing, by the way, with the double slash, all am I doing is adding a comment, nothing more than that. So I'm going to make all of these guys as actually private. All right. Yeah, let's do that. I'll make them all private. And then I will have only one method to set the values. Brand model seats. And I will have one method here, okay? Public void set car details, something like that. And in this method, I'm going to accept three different parameters: string brand, string BR, string model, and string or int seat. Okay, and this method that I created, I'll say brand equals BR, model
Sorry, Suvik.
equals mod.
What,
So,
what is that int seats? What does that mean?
sorry, which one?
Int seats.
This one or this one?
This, yeah, the one your cursor is on now, yeah.
This is a variable. This is a parameter.
Okay.
Parameter within the method, so that I can give the value to these variables. I'll explain. Just give me a minute. So model and seats equals seat, something like that. Okay. I created this method in order to give the value inside these variables. I added this three variables. I added this three parameter so that the data can be transferred to these guys like so. And I'm setting that over here. Okay, let me do this in debug mode. Everything can be debugged and we can inspect that. So Okay, so what I'll do now is, let me remove this line because I'm not using this dot operator to individually set the values. Rather, I will just simply use Audi dot, okay? Audi dot set card details. And here I can then say Mercedes or Audi, brand is A3, and the seat is 5. I can do that. Now, if I do that, what will happen, guys? Let's put a breakpoint, line number 8, and let's do the same thing with debugging. Debug as Java application. When I do that, line number 8, I will pause, okay? And then I'll go to the next line using step over, just like that. My bad, I should have added another breakpoint inside this method. Let's do it again. So test car, and I'm in line number 8, I do a step over, and you can see that in the method set car details, that method got called because with the Audi object, I'm calling set car details method with this 3 parameters, and the set car details method is accepting these 3 parameters. So BR is having the value, just hover your mouse on the BR, you see the value Audi. You hover your mouse on the model, you see the model, and seat is having the value 5. So these 3 values that I'm getting from the main class, from this main section, is now transferred to these variables, just like that, 1, 2, 3. And brand is Audi, model is A3, and seats is 5. See that? So all of them are here, correct? So I'm just setting this value. That's the reason why I created this method, set car details. All right. I'll stop this and then I'll create 2 more methods, 3 more methods. Number 1, public void start car. So in here, starting car is having nothing more than just simple 1-liner sysout statement. And I'm just going to say that this brand and then this model is getting started. So I just say brand, and I will give a plus, and I'll give a separator like this, plus model starting, or just started. Okay, that's started, start car, or just starting, I think, starting is fine, okay? And then I have the exact same situation with stop car. I'll say stop car. I'll say stopping. And then I'll say, finally, accelerate car. And accelerating. Okay, I have these 3 methods. So look at this class very well. I have 4 methods ideally here. One is set car details so that I can give the values to these variables using this method. All right. 1 minute. Oh, I think Addy is having some problem. I don't see him here. Okay, anyways. So I will be having the set car details to set the values. Yeah, Gia is out. Let's bring her in. Hold on. Okay, and then you have these 3 methods for start, stop, and accelerate. And finally, you can print the car info as well. These are the 4 properties of this car class. All good. As I told you, I cannot add a method specific to a car brand inside this guy because it will not make sense to me. correct? Because this is a card template. It should handle all different kind of cars, correct? Mercedes should have its own information, correct? So what we can do is we can do something like this. We can go ahead and say, I'm going to create a class here in this package. I'm creating a class, new class, and I'll make this class as Mercedes. Just give me a minute. Okay, Mercedes, right? And I have another class I'm going to create. It's called Audi. I create two different cars, Audi and Mercedes. Audi and Mercedes, they are both of type car. They are both of type car because they are car brands. Okay. Logically, because they are of type car, I should be able to, if I have a requirement where I want to start the Audi car with fingerprint and I want to start the Mercedes car with, you know, what do you call this? Proximity sensor, then I should be creating two different properties here, separate properties here. Okay, let's create the relationship first. As I said, there is a parent class and there's a child class. There are two child class. So parent class is the car class and the child is Mercedes and Audi. Now, a parent and a child relationship can be set, can be confirmed if and only if I set them. I set them. How do I establish the relationship between a parent and a child? I do this with the help of extends keyword. Extends keyword. Like so. Extends keyword, meaning I can go and say extends car. All right. It is saying a red here because it's from not understanding where the card is located. So I'm just saying card is located inside test Java package. You see import car. I'm importing the card from test Java package. And you just established a relationship where car is a parent, Audi is a child. Exactly the same thing I'll do for Mercedes. Extends car. Okay, I'll import the car here as well. And then you have these two guys. I've created the parent and a child relationship. Okay, now let's see something. I'm going to go back to my test car class. Now, instead of creating a car object, you see, I'm creating a car object here, right? This object is belonging to the car class. Instead of creating a car object, I want to create a Mercedes object or an Audi object. So Mercedes Merc equals to new Mercedes. Now, because, so I have to import the Mercedes now because it's in a different package. So I imported that. It's coming from the test Java 2. All right. So now because I created this Mercedes object just here, I can go ahead and call all the properties that actually belongs to the car class, meaning all these guys. I can actually do it. For example, I can go and say Mercedes dot set car details. Set car details is never a part of Mercedes class. Actually, there is nothing here in this stage, but still I can access that method set car details. Why? Because I have created the relationship between the child class and the parent class. Very, very important. Right? Now what do? I go back here and I say Mercedes. And I give the model here, maybe E350. Seat is 5, for example. So I just have set the value for Mercedes. Now Mercedes is a car, okay? It's exactly a car because I have created this relationship between the Mercedes class and the car class. So meaning I will have access to Merc.start car, Merc.stop car, accelerate car, and Merc.stop car. You see that? I have access to all of them. Now I go and I run this program. Test car, I run this program, Java application, and it did run all of it. Okay? It is giving me, it is able to access the values, and it is accessing the value and then printing the values, because eventually it is calling the method which is defined and implemented in the parent class. So there is no problem.
So,
Go on.
can you explain, if you go back to Mercedes class again,
Yeah.
can you just explain this? Trying to think of the terminology to call it now. So the way you say it extends. Can you explain that again? I'm a bit flustered on that.
No problem. You understood my first problem, right? The problem that I described, that you have a car class. Let me actually try to bring that diagram in here. Okay, so you remember I spoke about this diagram here. I said that you have the car class where I have all different properties of car, but then I want to make sure that I have a specific property given to the Mercedes class. Okay, that was my problem. Now, if I want to give the property called start with proximity, then this will be given. If I give this proximity starting option to the car class itself, then even if I want to add another property specific to Audi, I will not be able to do that, because you are making some changes in the topmost class. So there is a topmost class, which is the parent class. And in our case, it is the car class. And then I am planning to give specific responsibilities to specific child. I have a Mercedes.
Oh, the Audi brand, yeah.
And I have an Audi. So Audi starts with fingerprint. And Mercedes starts with proximity. Right? Now, if that's the case, how can I achieve this structure? I can achieve this structure if I create a parent and a child relationship between these entities. Meaning what? As soon as I am using this extends keyword between the Mercedes class and the car class, immediately, whatever the properties of car is, meaning all these guys,
gets passed to the
Mercedes
class.
To Mercedes or even Audi. And then the Mercedes and Audi will never have to implement these guys again, right? They can focus on only implementing this part, because this is their unique proposition or unique selling point.
Okay.
Is that making sense?
Makes sense.
Very good.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay, so that relationship can be established using this extends keyword. All right. Now you see, I have really not implemented that unique method in Mercedes. I didn't, but still I am able to access all the common methods that are coming from the car class as it is. And then when I run it, I am getting the desired result. However, that is not where I want to end. I want to give the option to start with proximity sensor. So I go and in the Mercedes class, I go and say public void start with proximity sensor, right? And then you just go and say this out. Okay. Brand plus model
Sorry, Sovic, can I just,
started with, yeah. Mhm.
sorry, before you start, Sovic, can I just ask something? I know
Sure.
you're trying to explain us the concept of inheritance here,
Mhm.
but can I just ask, like, if you look at your car template, the
Mhm.
main class,
Mhm. Mhm.
just with these methods you've declared and the variables you've declared,
Mhm.
I can still create two objects in the main class, right? I can still create car Mercedes equal to new car and car or Audi equal to new car, and still will be able to access all these methods, right?
That is exactly what I showed you here.
Yeah, but then you have extended the car class, right?
No. Wait a minute. So I showed you this, and before that I showed you, before deleting this part, I showed you this one as well. I said car Mercedes equals new car. I showed you that as well.
Yeah.
But then you know what will happen with this, right? You know what will happen with this. This is an object you're creating against the car class. The car class is not going to have the special property to start the car with proximity.
Yeah.
Only
Yeah, no.
Mercedes will have that.
Yeah, because that is, you've declared that in Mercedes class only.
Yes.
And it's part of Mercedes properties only. So yeah, I got that. But my question is that, but if you're not having any additional properties in Mercedes or Audi, you can still create two car objects here, Mercedes and
Absolutely, absolutely. Because I am trying to explain the inheritance concept and the logic. Why do I need that? That's the reason why I'm describing it in this fashion.
Perfect.
It's not that every class you create in Java needs to go through this process. So the point is this, eventually you will get to understand that where to exactly use this concept. Where will you exactly use this inheritance concept? It's not that every problem has the same solution.
Yeah.
So that's the point. Okay. So now I want to show you something. Look at this carefully. Here in this method, start with proximity sensor, right? In this method, I'm trying to access these two attributes, brand and model. This brand and model is a part of car class. You see, they are a part of car class. Correct? So if they're part of car class, then the child should be able to have the access to it, right? But not the case always. Why? Because brand and model is a private element. They're all privates. Because they're privates, even the child of it cannot access it. Even the child cannot access it. If the child cannot access it, then what the other option do you have? You can basically do something like this. You can create a method I'll do it here maybe, or maybe at the top. I'll create a method here called as protected string get brand. This method is just going to return back the current value of the brand variable. So I'll just say return, all right, brand, just like so. Similarly, I can have another guy, which is get model. And this is model. You see that? I have get brand and get model. Okay. Now, if that's the case, then what do? I simply access the protected elements in the child class. Instead of saying brand directly, call the method get brand or get model. Okay. Now I save this. Now, after saving this, if I go back to the test car, because I've created the Mercedes object, I can actually, instead of saying start car, I can actually go and say start car with proximity sensor. You see that? I am able to access this method. Why? Because I created an object of Mercedes class. In the Mercedes class, I have a method called start car with proximity sensor. And therefore, I was able to access it. And then if I run this now, you know what to do with the output. Start car with proximity, accelerating and stopping. So I hope you get the point that why inheritance is required. Inheritance is required because you want to provide the properties of your parent to the child. And at the same time, the child can have their own properties. That is the entire concept of inheritance. Okay, and a lot of things are actually built with it. A lot of other concepts are derived from it, and we will slowly cover them one by one. For example, overriding. Overriding is also one of the concepts in inheritance, but it is built on, overriding is a concept in object-oriented programming, and is built on top of inheritance. Runtime polymorphism is built on top of inheritance. Okay, so we'll talk about all of them. All right. Can you please give me a confirmation that you understand this part?
Sorry, Suvik, can you come back to the file, to the class car, please?
Yes, please. Tell me.
Okay, so okay, you use the protected string, okay, return, like I don't know, like you cannot write protected right before the string brand variable. No, it doesn't work like that. It has to be with return.
No, I didn't get that. No, it's not like that. It is exactly same as the public. It's another access specifier. You can even say void. No problem. It'll still work. But here I want to return back the value, so I said string.
Okay. Okay. So okay, it's because you want to return back the value, because you cannot write protected right before, you know, where there is global space, you know, where you define the global variables. So
over
like,
here,
yeah,
you can do that. You can do that.
Okay. Okay. That's.
But I wanted these variables to be private, and
okay.
I wanted to create this method only to send this data to my child.
Okay.
So that's the reason I created them as a method. I can even go ahead and I can make this protected, no problem at all. I can do that, but I'm not doing it. I just made them private anyways,
Okay.
and then gave these guys protected. Now, because you asked the question, I want to show you something. Instead of protected, let me make them default, meaning just remove this guy and then remove this guy. Okay. As soon as I do that, immediately I see an error in Mercedes. You see, get brand and get model is no longer accessible. Is no longer accessible that is coming from the car class. Why? Do you know why? Because this default variable, these default methods are a part of a class which is in a different package. Meaning, if I remove this guy, if I take this guy from here to here, the error will be gone, just like that. You see? The same concept came back again. So default elements from where you defined it and where you are accessing it, they should be all inside the same package. You see, Mercedes car is having these two guys as default attributes. Okay, default properties, right? There are two default properties, and they are accessible now to the Mercedes class because Mercedes class and the car class is under the same package. Now, if I take them from, if I remove the Mercedes class from the test Java to test Java 2, just like that, immediately I get back the problem. Now I will make this guy as protected. If I do it, look here, the get brand is not showing any error, but the get model is, because get model is still default. So what did we learn? We learned that if you have a parent and a child relationship, so let me put this in the right word then. Where is mine?
Sorry, Sophie, can I ask a question?
Go on.
What would be the need of, let's say creating two packages and
okay,
do
so
all of it in one package? Like, what's the
so
real world
packages? Okay, yeah. So why do we create packages? Packages are what? Packages is nothing but a folder, right?
Yeah.
So basically, folders are there because packages are there because we want to organize our code.
Okay.
Okay. So we want to group our code in a package where it makes sense to be in that package, right? So you were talking about you're implementing some functionality, and for that functionality, for example, you need 3 or 4 different files, the Java files. You probably want to put them inside the same package. Now, there could be a situation where you want to access the details or access the information from one file that is in package number 1 to another file which is in package number 2. There could be a requirement. I mean, I can give you the right requirement when I start talking about the test cases and then framework, because at this stage, even if I tell you, it will not make sense to you because I have to describe from the framework perspective and it will not make any sense to you. But the point here is that there are multiple such situations where you want to access something that belongs to package number 1 to package number 2.
Okay.
And that is where this kind of problem comes in. So to elaborate whatever I just said, the difference between default and protected. So if there is parent and child relationship, then protected elements will be accessible even if they are in different package, even if They are in different package, right? If there is a if there is a parent and a child relationship, then protected elements will be accessible even if they are in default package. But that is not going to be the case. But that's not the case. Not the case if the element is default. You understand? Okay, you can just give it a try in your local space, and then you can do some examples, and then you'll easily understand this. Okay, so I'll just make them. I'll make them protected because that's what it supports. Okay, so we learned about inheritance. We learned about access specifier. And let's talk about inheritance a little bit more. We have different types of inheritance, okay, that we are going to see right now. I mean, I'll not go through all of them, but let me show you what is permissible and what is not. So for example, we have this inheritance that is very easily understandable. Class A is the parent, class B is a child. So you're accessing the information of class A from class B. Okay, it's inheriting from the parent to the child. Then you have multi-level inheritance. So there is a grandparent, a parent, and the child. So the properties of grandparent can be given to the grandchild. No problem at all. And then you have hierarchical inheritance, something that we have just seen today. There is a car, there was a Mercedes, and there was an Audi, right? This is hierarchical. So these three things are obviously permissible in Java, but these two guys are not permissible directly with whatever we have learned. You see, multiple inheritance. That means one child is inheriting from two parents. That is not possible with whatever we have learned so far. This is possible later on when I talk about a concept called as interface. That time it is possible, but not now. And then there's another one, it's called something. It's called, hybrid. It's a hybrid model, okay? Hybrid model is also not possible. So multiple inheritance and hybrid model is not possible, okay? But these three things are possible. So that's what we have learned. All right. Do you have any questions for me that I can answer so far with inheritance? Anything? Cedric, do you have any questions? Or it's a complete tangent for you? Cedric, what do you think?
Yeah, not really. I'm still going to go back to the videos to try to understand more.
Okay,
what
but when I spoke to you, you said that you already tried to learn Java here and there, and you probably got
yes,
some...
ideally, but I haven't gone as far as having to do inheritance. So
yeah,
it's something I'm going to still look at probably this week before the next class. Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Okay, so that is that. Let's move on to something now, that is Java methods. What are different Java methods? I mean, why we have methods, and what are different types of Java methods we have? What can we do with it? Why it is required? We'll talk about all of them. And once I'm done with that, let's see what we have for the next class. +9. We have, okay, constructor overloading polymorphism. No, I don't think I should be actually talking about constructor. your mind will explode if I talk about constructor now. Constructor is basically about providing an initial setup to your object. And I think I will talk about this next week. So which means that I will give a pause to you in week number 3. I mean, I will not be enabling week number 4. And I think it's okay. Number one reason is that I don't think I'll be able to cover it, or you will be able to understand all of it. So it's okay to go slow. And number 2 is I have 2 new students here, Addy and Cedric. So Addy is also kind of trying to catch up, and Cedric is also trying to catch up. So let's give pause in between, and then we'll come back next week and then cover up the constructor part completely. Overloading, overriding, runtime polymorphism. This itself will take a couple of hours to really go through, and then then we will understand it better, I believe. Is that okay for everyone, or do you think otherwise?
Thanks so much.
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Good stuff. So let's just complete the method, and then we will talk about, we'll then stop the class. If you have any questions regarding assignments, anything that I've given earlier and you're not able to do it, we have some time to talk about that today in the class, and then I'll make it clear, and then I'll let you guys go. Okay. So just give me 2 minutes. I'll come back and then I'll talk about method from the previous class, right? What is method, and what are different types of method, and why do I need them? I'll talk about that. Give me 5 minutes, please. Okay, I'm back. All right, so then we are going to talk about Java methods. It's actually very simple, nothing really complicated happening here. You have seen me creating methods already, okay? I am calling them with respect to a particular class as properties, okay? So car as a class is having attributes which are the values or the variables that store the actual data. And then these guys are methods or properties. Properties because a car can have a property to start, stop, accelerate. From this class, you can get the value of brand and model, okay? I can have a method called print car info, XYZ. I can do different stuff with methods. So why do I need method is the first question. The question is to make your code, to reduce duplication. Duplication. Why do I even care about that? Because you need to make your code maintainable. Okay. And to make the code maintainable, the first thing that you will be considering is to take out anything that is duplicated. Anything that is duplicated, you would like to condense it into a method. For example, I am trying to create method. I'm trying to create a step. I'm trying to create a step to start the car. Okay. Let's think about starting a car, manual process. Okay. What do? Step number 1, step near the car, step near the car. I'm saying manual process. Number 2, use the key to unlock. Use the key to unlock. Key to unlock. Right. Number 3, what I'll do, sit. Okay, sit inside and secure with sit belt, right? Number 4, press, okay, go to neutral, right? Number 5, press the start button. Okay. And okay, maybe number 4 is secure the car with handbrake. Okay, go to neutral, start the car, press the start button. This is a step. These are the steps that you will perform manually when you are starting the car, more or less, right? Now, every time you start the car, you will actually do the steps. Every time you do it. But with programming, we are saving time, meaning you don't need to really perform all the steps every time from start to finish while starting the car. What we can do with the programming is, any programming, Java, C#, JavaScript, any programming, we can condense it down into a method like this, give a name to the method like start car, and then whenever I need to perform the start car, I just call the start car method like so. As soon as I do that, all the steps in here I have defined or implemented will be executed. This is the reason for method. Method will let you condense down all the steps into a logical chunk of code, which you can refer back over and over again to perform the same steps every time. This is a method. Is that clear to everybody? Yes, no? Yes, no?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, a method is having, when you create a method, you define few stuff, right? Along with the method, depending on the method as well. For example, who can access the method, right? We have to think about it. Who can access the method? You can obviously go ahead and use the method as public. Meaning what? Meaning everybody can access the method that is defined inside the class. Everybody can access the method. Similarly, you can make a method private. You can make a method default and protected. So basically, you need to define an access specifier, obviously. Number 2, you need to define that if the method that you are writing, if this method is supposed to return some information, return some value, if yes, then we have to specify that what type of value you're trying to return, whether it is string or it's integer or it is character, whatever. You need to specify the return type. If the method is not returning anything, then you just go and say void, just like that. All right. Third thing that you need for the method is what? The name of the method. So method name, right? And then you use this brackets. What is this brackets? These brackets are basically there for accepting. These brackets are there to accept parameters or arguments, you can add multiple arguments here. So for example, I'm adding a parameter called string brand. Now, when you added the string brand as a parameter here, when you call the method, you're supposed to be calling with this argument. Okay, so meaning you will be calling the method with the argument called start car, and the argument is a brand. So you just go and you pass the value like this as Audi. You see that? So I need to pass the value inside the method because the method accepts a parameter, an attribute. Yeah. So you have to take care of all these different things when you define a method. If the method is returning something, then obviously, as I said, you need to mention the return type. So if it is string or if it's int, you specify the type, and then finally within the method you go and say return a number, because you are returning, because your return type is integer, so you should be returning a number, some number. Okay, after you're making some calculation and you are returning some number. Okay, so I'm just going to say maybe 500. Okay, if it is void, then you don't need to return anything. Okay, so let's try to look at some example. Nothing to do with the car, but I'm just trying to give a simple example with some mathematical situations. So I'll go and say new class, and I'll name this method as test methods. All right. Yeah, test methods, the public method. All right. So as you know, the public method is also having a specific structure. And if you have seen my videos earlier, since day one, you have seen me talking about this method in detail, like why exactly this structure is required. I've spoken about all of it. Okay. So now the point is that I want this method, or I want this class to let me perform some mathematical operation. I'm creating a method here. Okay. Public void. Okay. Multiply. Okay. And that's the method I created. You see, it's a void method, meaning nothing is going to be returned. The name of the method is multiply, and I'm not really accepting any parameter here. Sys out, I'm multiplying result plus, okay, I'm multiplying 20 into 30. Okay, simple. I created a method called multiply, and I'm just printing out a result 20 times 30. Simple. Now, every time I call this method called multiply, every time I get the same result over and over and over again. I'm just showing you in just one liner, but you can actually have hundreds of lines here. And every time you run this method, every time it is supposed to perform the same operation. That's method number one. How do I call the method? This method is within the class called test methods. So actually within this main method itself, I can create an object of test methods. So you see, this main method is within test methods class, and still I can create an object of test methods like this. You can even do that. Test methods, test equals new test methods. I can do that. That's no problem at all. Okay, and then I can say test dot, and you can say multiply. So I call the method now with this situation. So I think this is a little bit new to you. I am in the main method, and then I'm creating the object of the same class where the main method is, but it is also possible. You can actually create the object within the class itself of the same method. You can do that, but it has to be in the main method. If I try to do the same thing here, I think that is also possible, I believe. Yeah, you can do that here also, no problem at all. So you can create an object of the class from the same class itself, but so far, whatever the examples I've shown you, it doesn't really make sense to create the object from the same class. It doesn't make sense. Okay, because I told you always that you create an object from a separate class because this class is going to be your controller for the actual class, actual template class. That's the reason why I took this approach, where the Mercedes is a separate class than the test car. All right. So coming back to the same problem, in this case, I go and run this. And every time I get the result as 600 every time. So that's number one. Let's go and do something like this. I say multiply public void multiply, okay, with param. And this method is now going to accept two different parameters. So int, say A and int B. So I'm just adding two different parameters and the exact same implementation. There is nothing to be returned back. Exact same implementation, but just that I can go ahead and say A times B now. And when I do that, I can go and say test.multiply with parameter. And here I can just say 35 times 55. And I go and run this. I get the value accordingly. Good. Next, go and say public public int multiply and return. Okay. And here I'm going to say exactly the same thing, meaning I'll have the parameters given to it. And instead of really printing out something from here, like I did in this case and this case, I want to return back the value to the caller. So something like this. So return A times B, just like that. So you just return back the value to the caller. Who's the caller? The caller is this guy, right? So here I'll just go and say test dot multiply and return. And here I say 45 and here I say 95. Okay. If I run this, I got the value for line number 8, line number 9, but why didn't I get the line number 10 value? Can someone tell me that? I'm not getting the value for line number 10. Why?
Because there isn't a statement print.
Exactly. I didn't even print. I'm not printing it anywhere. There is no print statement in this method. It's just returning the value. But where am I catching it? It's returning, that's true. Where am I catching it? I can do something like this. I can say int res equals this. When I do that, then this will be printed, this will be multiplied, and the value will be given to the res. And then you can go and say sysout, and then you can say res. You can do that. And then if I do it, if I run it again, I get the value as this one. However, you can also do something like this. You can just go and condense your code again, saying sysout and just within the bracket, just put the whole thing. So what will happen? It will first print, it will first multiply it, and then this print will print the value. So you can just go and say result. Plus, okay. And now if you go and run this, you get the value again. All right, that's that. I can have one more method where I say public void, not void, int, multiply a lot, something like that, multiply a lot. What's the plan? The plan is simple. I'm going to use a parameter which is not going to be 1 or 2 parameter. What if I have a requirement where I want to multiply like hundreds of values? If I have hundreds of values to multiply, can I give them in the parameters? Yeah, you can give them. Logically you can, but that will be a terrible thing to look at. You don't want to give hundreds of parameters here. Rather, I can use something called as var args. Var args. How so? I'm gonna say int dot 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 a or num. Sorry, my bad. Num. This guy is called a var args. Var args is nothing but is a parameter type that can be passed in a method where you can actually supply multiple values of the same variable, of the same type, hundreds of them, as long as you want. Okay, so that's what it does. And in behind the scene, var args is nothing but works as an array. You know, it works as an array. So meaning, what can I do is I can say, I can do something like this. I can so because it's an array, I can use a loop, right? I can use a for loop for, I'll say int, basically I'll name it as nums. And he has an int num colon nums. There's a for each loop. I have spoken about that in detail earlier. Look into it, please. And then here I say, I'll also add a temporary variable. Int temp equals 0, or not 0. This will be 1. Int temp equals 1. And then I do something like this. I say temp equals num into temp. Yeah. What am I doing here? So whatever the values you're sending here, probably I'm sending values like 10, 20, 45, 67, 89, whatever, right? So this entire series will be converted into an array in the backend behind the scene. And then I will simply loop around from initial value to the last value. And when I'm looping around, what am I doing? I am storing the value into the temporary variable. So think about it. Let's derive this. So the first value is 10. Okay. So temp is 1, correct? So basically you will have like this. So temp is equals to num is 10 times 1. Because value of temp, initial value of temp is 1. So basically this value 10 is getting added to the temp variable. Okay. Now the next time when the loop starts, the next value is 20. And the temp variable is not 21, it's 10 now, because from the previous iteration, it become 10. So then the temp value is 30 now. All right. And the next value is 45. And temp value is 30. So accordingly, it will multiply and put that value into the temp variable. Very simple logic. Okay. Once we are done with that entire thing, I go and say return temp, just like that. Simple. When you do that, what happens is you just return back this value to the caller. Again, exactly the same thing I can do. Control C, Control V, result, multiply, and return, multiply a lot. And here I can go and pass on any number of values. 67, 89, 90, 88, any number of values, because it is var args. This is called var args, right? Let's run this and you get all the values. How cool is that? Right? See that? So we just created 4 different methods now, guys, to perform 4 different things. However, there is something that I want to talk about right now. And this concept is called as polymorphism. Or overloading. Overloading. Why do I care? I care because overloading is basically a situation where you as a developer will have to just remember one single name of the method. You have to remember just one single name of the method, and depending on its parameters, they can be referred as different elements. Let me show you what I mean. Okay.
Sorry, can I just ask a question, please? Here.
Go on.
I mean, in this case, your methods are not the same. The naming convention is different for all the methods.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
I understand with overloading, the method name has to be the same, but the parameters or the signature has to be different, right?
Yes, that is correct.
But how come this is overloading when the method names are not the same?
It is not. I'm going to go for method overloading now.
Oh, okay. No, because you said the concept.
No. I'm talking about it now. I spoke about writing 4 different methods for 4 different things, and now I'm going to talk about overloading now. Okay. So the idea is that you remember only one single name of the method, and then you are going to simply use that same name to perform different operations differently. Meaning what? Meaning I'm going to firstly make all these names as multiply. Okay. Now look at the situation, please. Look at the situation very clearly. I made them all look like having the same name. Method names are same, all 4 of them. However, these 2 guys are creating a problem. You see, this one and this one has no problem at all. Okay, but these 2 guys are having a problem. Why is that? So in Java, you cannot keep 2 different methods. I mean, same method name for 2 different methods. You cannot do that. I cannot create exactly another method like multiply. If I do it, I will immediately get an error. You see that? It says duplicate method multiply. It's exactly the same. When I say it is same, it is not really looking at the implementation. Java is not looking at the implementation. Java is looking at the signature of the method. When I say signature, it means the name of the method and also the parameter of the method. So in this case, in this situation, both of them are having the same name, and both of them, they don't have any parameter. So that's the reason why Java understands that they are duplicates, and it is creating a problem. So if I remove them, then everything is fine. Okay, now look at the second situation here. Multiply, multiply. Now look at this. Implementation is different. You see, here I'm printing out something, and here I'm returning something. However, the problem is that this multiply and this multiply is still considered to be same because they have same parameter type. Even the number of parameters are same. So in Java, if you have same method name for two different methods, they have to be different in terms of the type of the parameter and the number of the parameter. What do I mean? I mean here I'm multiplying two different numbers. I can, if I say int c, the problem is gone. Look, the problem is gone because here I'm multiplying three of them. I can say a times b times c, and I'm calculating three of them, multiplication of three of them. So obviously, you see in the caller, it is creating a problem. You see here I'm calling, right? It is creating a problem. So I just go and say comma, say 67, and then I will make them all the same name because now everybody is having the same name. You see, everybody is having the same name, but they are still being treated different because they have different signatures. Why? Because this guy has no parameter, no arguments. Okay, this guy has two arguments. This guy has three arguments. And this guy has a different type of argument called as var_args argument. Which is why Java is considering it as overloaded methods, method that has different signature. For example, I can also show you something. Instead of giving int c here, look, if instead of giving int c here, I'll remove this int c, right? I remove this int c, and as soon as I do that, I'm getting back the same problem. Int a and int b, int a and int b, both of them are same. But if I do something like this, if I say string a and int b, that means I'm trying to multiply a string with a integer. How is that possible? I'll show you how is it possible. So I don't want to give the value as a number like this. I want to give the value as like this. You see, 45, but 45 I'm giving it in double quotes. So it is considered to be a string, but behind the line in Java, I will convert this to an integer. How do I convert a string to an integer? I can convert a string to an integer using a method called integer.parseInt. And in the parseInt method, I'm supplying this actual string. Because the string that I'm sending is holding a type of integer value, hence this integer parseInt will work. If I say here it as AA, it will not work, obviously. But if it is 45, that means it's an integer, but formatted as string. If it is like that, then integer.parseInt will work, and you will be able to multiply it. Let's do it again. Let's run this again. See, everything is neat and same. So we just learned two different, very, very important concepts today. Number one is, what is method? What are different types of method? What can you do with method? Why do you need method? Right? And number two is overloading or polymorphism. Is this clear to everyone? Sure, if you have a question?
Yeah, Souvik, with this integer.parseInt, So can we say from what we have learned so far is that pass int is the property of class integer?
Exactly. Very good. It's a method in integer. You have to.
Yeah, it's a method in integer,
You
right?
don't have to. You don't have to do anything. You just have to go and right click on this. You see, hold the control and click on this integer. You see, open declaration, just like that. All right. And this is the integer class. You see, integer class in Java is extending to number class. Something. Don't have to worry. It is all behind the scene. Don't have to worry. But if you just go down, you should have called parseInt. ParseInt. This is examples. Here, you see that? ParseInt?
Yeah.
ParseInt method. These are all comments. These are all comments they have given. Don't worry about that. But I'm just trying to see the parseInt. You see, there's a parseInt method. And you see, here also they have done overloading. You see this parseInt method. Let me actually just try to find it out. Good that you asked. So I'll go and just show you here. Yeah, these are all examples. You see,
okay.
parseInt is accepting a string and int radix. Okay, let's go and find another one. You see, parseInt character sequence, begin index, end index. And the one that we just used is this parseInt, where I just added only one single parameter, right? You see that? Here, integer parseInt and one single string. That's it.
So all the inbuilt functionalities which we use, like integer.parseInt and the other scanner classes and all of that, they're all formed under the principle of inheriting from other classes and
inheriting object-oriented programming, everything.
Okay.
So basically, like you and me, a group of Java developers sat together and implemented this whole library that we are referring over and over and over again, and thousands of class files, but they have done everything following the same principles. They're not doing anything different.
Yeah. And other question, Souvik. So if we, at the moment, we are using Eclipse, right? But if we are using any other IDE, all these classes and all these libraries are getting installed when we are installing Java on a system, right?
Exactly. So you don't have to worry about that. The same project you can just copy and paste it in the IntelliJ. I mean, you don't have to copy and paste it. You open the IntelliJ, create a workspace in IntelliJ. In IntelliJ, they do have workspace, I believe. Yeah, they do have. And then you just go there and then just try to open this file, this project from IntelliJ, and then you will be able to exactly perform the same operation. No problem.
Okay. And from company standard wise, like, what is the standard at the moment, and as in how many companies are using Eclipse or IntelliJ?
Oh, it is not like that. In companies, they don't really, the company will not tell you what to use. All right. You go there and you can just use any tool that you are comfortable with. So there are developers who are comfortable with just the Eclipse or IntelliJ, and they will just follow it accordingly as per their own experience, because the code is Java. Eclipse will not run it differently for you. It all depends on your habit, that what kind of familiarity you have with the tool. That's how it is.
Thanks. And Souvik, can I just ask one more favor? Because you mentioned in your introduction classes that you will be solving some problems from HackerRank.
I actually did that. Earlier during one of the classes in last year, I tried to do that, and then I saw that it is getting more confusing for the batch, because what happened is that we have only one live class every week. And for HackerRank problems to solve, because HackerRank is not a simple tool. I mean, the questions can get really tricky. And to solve one such problem in the live class, it was taking almost 30, 35, 40 minutes, right? At times, and it was actually getting increased. And then what we saw is that, the classes are getting extended and people are like, after 2-3 hours, they are like totally slogged, So which is why I thought, let's take it out. But I would encourage, if you can try to perform a HackerRank problem and then ask me where is the problem, where do you have the problem, and then probably I can just give you some pointers that we can definitely do. But explaining it in the live class will consume a lot of time. I did that, in the month of May 2020. 2020 I'm talking about. I actually, almost for a month or so, I started the class with HackerRank problems, like 35-40 minutes every class. It was just that, and people started liking it. But then what happened is that things started getting more complicated, and then we were losing time in actual technical discussions about the topic. So I took it out from the curriculum. So that's the case. But
I mean, one of the things,
One
of the things, Souvik, when we look at the problem, and when we're thinking of solution, how to solve that, sort of a problem, is there a sort of best practice you would recommend us to do, like how to break the questions into stages and then try to write code on those particular.
So let's see something. Let's go to the assignment. For example, in class number 8, I have some assignments. All right. So what am I saying here? I'm saying, will you consider these as like some challenging assignments, or it is simple for you, Shoaib?
No, this one was quite okay, because based on your live classes, I was solving the problems. I was able to solve it quite easily.
Okay, let's go and see.
Like, can you do some arrays or probably anything? Arrays is quite challenging for me, to be honest.
Let's see. I think arrays I have spoken about in the class 5 or 6.
Like, can I, if you're okay, can I just tell you one of the problems I'm facing is on the array bit, where the question was to print the array in the matrix format, and then sort of reverse it. So basically, whatever is the row should be the column, and whatever so whatever is the row should be column. So I was struggling to do that, but I was able to print that in the matrix format using 2 for loops, for I and for j loop.
Okay. Do you have the problem with you right now?
Let me just see 2 seconds while
I can give you the control. You can show me and I'll try to solve it. Okay, you're the co-host now. You can share the screen. Cedric and Adi, could you please stay back after the class, like for 5 minutes? All right, I can see that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Can you just run the program, whatever is working so far? No, it will not run because you have errors. You have to first comment that out or whatever, and then you run the section which is working for you. Just select the whole section and say control and then forward slash whole section. Yeah, forward slash control forward slash. That's it. Okay, now go and show me. You do that? You didn't do that. Yeah, that's it. Now show me. Save it. Did you save it? I see errors still there. Okay, now it's gone. Okay, run. Very good. So you got this value there. Okay. So what was the question now? Your mute one.
Yeah. So what I want to do is I want to print 1040 as first row, and then 2050 as the second row, and 3060 as the third row.
Okay. So what have we done is this 1040 as the first.
Sorry, while you're
row.
thinking, just need to get a charger. Sorry.
No problem. That's fine. Can you give me the control? Let me try it.
Yes, Sovik, I can.
Can you give me the control? Yeah. Yeah.
Should I just say approve? Yeah.
So let's see. You want to basically print out things in a other way around. So let's see. In the row, you have 3 columns. So you have just this guy here. Let's say 2 rows. I go and say sys out. Sys out. Okay. Sys out. Num I. This will give me the value as this guy. And I also need the value for the second guy. Now wait a minute. This was the answer from my question. Is that right, or you are getting it from somewhere else?
So basically, if you look at the way I've declared array, so the result of this first output is to print them in a matrix format, which I've done it. Like I've got 1040, 1 row, 1 column, and 2050 in another column, and 3060 in another column. So this is fine. This is working for me, but I am not able to produce
the second question was in the second question that you're giving me. Is it in the assignment? I don't
No. This wasn't in the assignment.
Okay.
This was in the basically it was in this one of this tutorial I was practicing, one of the practice website which I shared in the.
Okay. So let's see something. Let's do some debugging and figure this out. In the column I and J, I will have, let's do some debugging. Do dimension array. All right. And then if I just go down, it gives me 10. That's perfect. I go down here and gives me 40. Right? It gives me 20. You want to get the 40 there.
Yeah, I want to produce 10 and 40 like this. Yeah. Basically, what I want to do is that column 1, column 0 becomes row 0 basically.
Yeah.
I was trying to do, the way I did it was I said I decreased the value of column, because now instead of 3 columns, there will be only 2 columns, because I'm converting the rows into columns.
No, you don't need to do that, you don't need to do that. It can be done in a different way. So I'm just getting.
I got the solution as well, but I wasn't able to understand the solution.
Can you show me the solution?
Yeah, just a second. Oh, yeah, it's here.
I can't see. I think you're sharing the Eclipse only. You have to
Okay.
unshare and unshare the whole screen.
Okay, let me just share.
Okay.
So this is what they've done.
Okay, let me see. So what they have done is 2-dimension. No, wait a minute. Chaining the rows and column. Yeah, they didn't do anything like that. You're saying, in terms of reducing the number of rows. They are still the same. It's just that they have flipped it like this. Let's see the solution. Okay, in 2-dimension array, that's fine. Okay, print 2D and transpose. Okay, transpose. This is transpose. Transpose, what are you doing? Int 2-dimensional array 2dm0.length 2dm0.length. Okay, and 2dm.length. So basically they are creating an array of integers 2dm0.length. That means the first one dot length. So this is going to be 3. Okay. So if it is right, they're changing the dimension itself. So meaning what they're doing is that they're saying, instead of saying, right, exactly. So let me show you what they're trying to do.
Should I share another screen?
No, that's fine. So what they're trying to do is this. So when you are trying to create a 2-dimensional array, how do you do that? You say int.
I can't see your screen.
No, let me write it. I'm writing. Int num equals to int 2. Sorry, you have 2 by 3, right? Int 2 and 3. So basically, when you work with the 2-dimensional array, it's something like this happens. Okay. So you're creating a 2-dimensional array, and you're saying you're creating a matrix like 2 by 3. So basically, this goes something
2 rows by 3 columns. Is that
exactly?
What
Exactly. That's what it happens, right? Like you already did. Correct. It's like 2 rows and 3 columns. That's exactly what you did. But now with this structure that they are defining, they are not saying that. They are saying in a different manner. They're saying, instead of saying 2 by 3, they are saying they want to flip it to int 3 by 2. And how did they do it? They're doing it dynamically. Okay. How is that? You see, it's very clearly saying the box at the bottom, it's saying 2-dimensional 0 index dot length. So what is the 0 index? This is 0 index, right? This is the first index. Dot length is what? 3, correct? The 0 index, how many elements I have? I have 3 elements.
3.
That's 3. And then you're saying 2-dimensional dot length. So 2-dimensional array is having a length of 2 because there are 2 rows. You see? That's the reason why it becomes 3 by 2 now.
So they're changing
the dimension itself from 2 by 3 to 3 by 2 by making it by performing this simple calculation.
So now they're changing it to 3 rows and 2 columns.
Exactly. So the whole strategy is changed, obviously, right? And all they're doing is just with the simple one-liner. With the simple one-liner, they've changed the entire dimension of it. If they're changing the entire dimension of it, now you can put the value however you like. What's the big deal? Right. So that's all.
Yeah, but in my case, if you look at my example, can I create a new dimension array, and I can put int row and new int row column. Is that how I should be declaring it then?
No, so see, the point here that they're trying to make is that they have created firstly a two-dimensional array, which is in the format of 2 by 3, right? And then they are calling another method called as transpose. You see, they have a method called print array, and they're printing an array in a 2 by 3 format. And then they are exactly using the same array and then passing that array to another method called transpose, and where they are simply changing the dimension first. They're changing the dimension first, and then they are, oh, sorry, my bad. And then they are doing everything. They're changing the dimension first, and then they're doing what? They're simply looping around, exactly the same loop. The same loop that you worked with, they're not doing anything different here, actually. Okay, exactly the same 2 for loop they will be using. It's just that they are now simply change its dimensions, and that's all.
Okay. So how, I mean, how can I declare my second array in my case? Because I haven't used the same variables what these guys have used in.
Show me the screen.
Can you see Eclipse?
No, I don't see the Eclipse.
Okay.
So what's the problem? You actually have the same number, and you have done this. All looks good. Just printing things out. So what these guys have done is they have created 2 methods. One is called print array, right? That method is just printing the value, and then there is another method called transpose. Okay. So once they have changed the dimension of it from 2 to 3, right? They have again simply called the print array method to print it. Okay. Let me do one thing. I understood the problem. I don't have time right now, but what I'll do is I understood the solution also, but let me create the solution and send it to you in the Slack.
Okay.
Take a look into it and then let me know if it's making sense or not.
Perfect.
Okay?
We'll do that.
I'll try to put some comments there so that it can be understandable, or probably I'll try to get the solution in a different format than what they have given. But yeah, that's interesting. Just ping me that solution in the Slack. I'll take it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Please drop off. I'll have to talk to Cedric and Addy. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining.
Yes,
I'll
thank
see you
you.
guys
Okay.
next time.
Thanks. Bye.
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 Thanks, guys. Thank you, Keith. Thank you, Jia.